Full spoilers for Dragon Ball Super Superhero. I'm so glad we live in a world where we have now done 2 Dragon Ball films as reviews on this show. That is very cool. My inner child is screaming. The latest Dragon Ball movie is out in America. It's been out in Japan, but now American release is here. So full spoilers. If you have not seen it, you've been warned. Skip ahead. Pause this. Turn us off. What are you doing? Turn us off quickly. Now. Do it now. If you have not seen it, go run. Full spoilers. Who wants to go first? I'll go first. I loved it. I thought this was excellent. And it's my second or third favorite Dragon Ball movie.
Oh, nice.
Pat the Power's really good, so I got to think about it.
Okay. I will also say that I came in with, I don't want to say low expectations, but the animation style at first kind of got me a little But walking out of that theater, man, I had a great time.
I liked it. I think it's pretty good. I did not love it.
Okay,
I do not think it is. I do not think it is free of flaw.
Why don't you talk about a flaw?
Okay. I mean, it's honestly like the animation is tough. I think that the movie does itself a disservice by showing such absolutely gorgeous 2D flashback.
Yeah, that's not fair.
For the first like minute, and then is like, all right, now are you ready for what the movie will look like? And then just does like truly the worst shot of the CG 3D animation that it is doing as its opening shot. And I'm like, whew, that is a transition that really makes me not excited about watching this movie.
The opening is a recap of the Red Ribbon arc in Dragon Ball. Done in
all the way up to Gero and Cell and all of it. Yeah.
Excellent 2D animated sequence.
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous. It's incredible. And then it's this opening floaty world like environment shot getting us to where Magenta, the current leader of the Red Ribbon Pharmacy, which is also still the Red Ribbon Army in secret, is, and it just looks like garbage. And like we've watched a beautiful 3D CG anime film. It's Lupin the Third, the First, and this was not on that level. This shot specifically. But like once the movie gets rolling in context, like I get on board with the animation. There are still I definitely like I had to stop looking too closely at mouths because this was something I talked about that I knew would be a problem when you're watching the dub. The articulation in CG 3D animation is more pronounced with the Japanese characters, so their mouths are moving more approximately to what they're saying, which means that the dub now looks more jarringly incorrect than it did in 2D. Yeah. So just you just kind of got to roll with that. That's not really the fault of them. That's just dubbing stuff. But there's still movement stuff in the animation that like like there's no bones about it. Broly looks better, and I just want all the Dragon Ball stuff to look as good as Broly or strive for it. And this movie's just not striving for it. So I'm like, it's all right. It still looks good. It's just you know, it's a step down in animation visuals.
I hope that this is not what the show when it comes back will look like. But I'm hopeful that the future movies won't look like this.
Yeah, I'm nervous of that
because I did accumulate to the animation. Quite honestly, I really liked it. There's only a couple of points that I didn't really care for. The opening shot being one of them, as you mentioned. The character models I think look really good because they're done with a 2D overlay almost. A lot of like the line and definitions are 2D, whereas the figures are 3D. And I think that works. I think that creates a pretty visually interesting character model, and I like it when it does that.
Yeah.
So I'm not opposed to them doing this movie in this animation style, especially because of the reason why. But going forward, if we do more Dragon Ball movies, which obviously we will, go back to the 2D.
Yeah.
Let this be the outlier.
Yeah. Right.
I would definitely agree that go back to the 2D because those 2D visuals in the flashback were just fantastic. And you know, obviously the last major film, Broly, 2D animation, superb action, superb fighting, and just everything about it was superb. But this one, I still enjoyed quite a bit, even with the 3D animation. I mean, yeah, I do agree with Sparkz. There was time where the mouth flaps were off, but thankfully it didn't completely take me out of the movie. Besides that, those are really all the negatives I really have, to be perfectly honest. This movie, I was fully invested all the way through.
I think one of the cool things about this movie is that it's really marketed as a Gohan movie, but it's a Piccolo movie.
I love that.
And I think that it's I'll just agree with you. I also really like that the focus on this movie was mostly on Piccolo. I think I didn't quite realize that I always like Piccolo. Piccolo's a cool character, but I didn't quite think that he could carry a movie. And I thought, and watching this, I was surprised at like how well he did. Especially Super Piccolo, who's not Super Piccolo, but like Super's Piccolo, who's a lot more comedic than he was in Dragon Ball Z. He's definitely softened over the years. And it was cool to see him just kind of get a lot of play and be able to be a star of a Dragon Ball movie.
I agree with all the things you just said. Yes, I think I wanted to find the right way to say it. I think that Piccolo's arc in it is really good. I think that it's really great that he's at the forefront. I really like it. As far as the sentence of like it was marketed as a Gohan movie and it wasn't, and it's actually a Piccolo movie, and I think that worked great. Yeah, except I think Gohan wasn't very good in this movie, and I'm going to be honest about that. I don't think the character stuff is very good. I mean, like, boy, you want to talk about a shortcut. We took a shortcut with Gohan to get him to what is affectionately, I guess, called Gohan Beast Mode, which is the silver form we see at the end. Not crazy about it in the animation. This particular animation, I don't like the hair. I think
Yeah, I agree.
I think it looks like weird game glitch kind of hair instead of Super Saiyan hair, or Saiyan hair. It just doesn't totally work for me in this animation style. I think it's great that we put Piccolo at the forefront. I really enjoy having him as a character. I'm also kind of sitting here like, why couldn't Gohan have been a character too, though? Because Gohan has less development than Pan in this movie, and I think that kind of is a bummer, especially because the movie's marketed as a Gohan movie. So perhaps the expectations were set in the wrong place. But I also think that we just kind of cheat our way to Gohan's transformation.
I won't disagree with that. I think that the idea of I talked to you a lot about this. One of the things I really like about Dragon Ball Super is in the last half of Dragon Ball Super, Gohan gets put on a path that I think is really interesting and something that I really wanted to see. Right. This movie jumps 2 years into the future,
roughly.
So between Broly and this movie is about 2 years. So the manga is not up to this point yet. And Gohan was in the Moro arc, but he wasn't in the Granola arc, so we haven't seen him in a bit. And it's basically implied that since the Universal Tournament, that training has not continued in the 2 years.
Or it did, and he slowed down, and now it's hit critical mass with Piccolo, where he's like, "You're not even trying anymore."
Yeah, and I don't love that implication because that's kind of what happened before, right? That was the trajectory from the Buu saga to Super, pretty much. Because Gohan, and they bring it back a lot in this movie, but they haven't in a while. Gohan has the potential to be the strongest person on Earth. He has the potential to surpass his dad. That's his latent ability. That's how strong he could be. And once the Buu saga started, they really dipped off of that. And so I'm not blaming Super for that. I do kind of blame Super a little bit. They did try to course correct. So they really try to go through that same arc again. And I do kind of agree with you that it is a problem. Because now we've got Gohan, who hasn't trained in a while, all of a sudden being like, I did it. I've done that next level.
Yeah, it's that, and it's also just he's literally not in the movie enough.
Yeah.
To warrant. I had a long conversation with our friend Michael after the movie, and we were talking about the emotional transformations inside of Dragon Ball, and Gohan's felt less impactful than Piccolo's in this movie.
Yeah, that's true. I think if it was in the movie more, I do think they try to go for that emotion because it's the way it's framed. Piccolo is we think that Piccolo's died, and Gohan is seeing like essentially his father die, and that's what triggers the transformation. And that's all well and good, but it doesn't land as well as, like you said, Piccolo's transformation. Piccolo gets a transformation in this movie,
right?
Which I think is well handled and really cool. But I do think one of Gohan scenes has the biggest laugh in the movie, where they've threatened Pan and Gohan jumps out of there and starts going in Super Saiyan, like goes like he's just the crater gets bigger and bigger in his next to his house, and Piccolo just turns to the screen. Gohan's back.
Yeah.
I mean, like, very funny.
There's great humor stuff, for sure. I think there is great humor in this movie. This is Toriyama kind of up on his best humor shit with this one, especially in some of the stuff he does with Magenta and Hedo. But as an emotional, this should be like a defining emotional point for Gohan, and I just don't feel it. I'm just not. And I'm gonna piggyback, because I do like this movie, and I do want to get to the things I like about this movie. So I want to kind of like wrap out my big problems with the movie right here, which is that I think Gohan's transformation is rushed, and I think the arc of it is not very good. So we don't connect to his character, and I feel like this is all just like trying to appease the Cell Saga fans in a bad way when you get down to it, because we're just like paintbrushing some of the beats again. And Cell Max has no personality, and I think that's super, super lame. And I find it super disheartening and disappointing, and I have zero interest in it as a villain. And I think his whole thing as this rage berserker monster could have worked for me if like the point was just that he does look like Cell, but they use that with Gohan. If, for example, when Gohan, as you mentioned before the transformation, when he's seeing Piccolo being held up by Cell Max, if he flashed back, because we flash back plenty of other times in this movie, I don't know why this couldn't have been one. If we flash back to the Cell games and Gohan seeing Cell tower over his friends, and if we'd done that to kind of connect like visually, even without Gohan saying anything, though he could have said things, but like visually, even to just say that Gohan is re-encountering the trauma that triggered his Super Saiyan 2 transformation to begin with, that would have made Cell Max not talking work for me fine, because the whole relevance of his presence is visually he looks like Cell, and that helped trigger Gohan's trauma, which helped kick him into this transformation. That all would have worked for me. But we don't do the legwork to get there. And it's bothersome because all the pieces are right there, but we just don't do it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I have a similar. I don't disagree with you at all. I do find it strange that they decided to bring back Cell in this way. At the end of the day, whereas it's not a hindrance for me personally. I just kind of look at it as like, why did it have to be Cell? Why couldn't it have been just Monster? The fact that it is Cell should mean something, and it doesn't quite mean anything. I guess at the end of the day, I'm just happy that it wasn't perfect Cell, because it's his second form that they've recreated, not his third.
But that doesn't even matter, because this isn't Cell, and it doesn't. Yeah. That's the thing, is like in the context of the movie, it doesn't matter that he looks like him. Like it doesn't. Like, other than they're like, oh, it's like Cell. That's a threat because Cell was a threat.
But
and
giant.
Like beyond that, like it doesn't mean anything. And I enjoyed the colors and the visual flashiness of like what was going on, and like some of the team fighting that was happening with Cell Max. But if I'm being completely honest, I got a lot of Shang-Chi Act 3 vibes after the dad dies from the final fight, where I'm just kind of like, cool. I'm just kind of waiting for this to get to its end point, I guess.
I forgot you didn't like that fight. I like that fight.
It's just emotionally, the emotion part is over. Yeah. Now I'm just watching the visuals of it. Yeah. And the emotion part of everything was done once Cell Max was on the table. There was no emotion in the fight anymore. I think the most emotional thing you get in it is Gamma 2's sacrifice play. And then outside of that, that's like the last emotional beat in the Cell Max fight.
Well, also the Piccolo's supposed death.
I did not believe for a moment that he was dying. This is the thing, is like I that felt to me just as like, we got to force the final act push of the person getting all that power to kill the villain, as some of the not so good Dragon Ball Z movies of the past. It felt the same as like waiting for Goku to do the Spirit Bomb on Super Android 13, or waiting for Goku to take everyone's energy and punch Broly so that he exploded, I guess. Like it just felt the same. I didn't feel like Piccolo was in danger. I didn't feel that emotional tension. I didn't even feel the emotional stakes of what I felt at the end of Broly.
Sure.
I don't have a dog in the fight at that point.
I will disagree with that one, because I felt differently there. I did feel the emotional stakes of that. I did kind of feel like it was beginning to look hopeless, and it was working for me, quite honestly. Like, again, I'll agree that it doesn't matter that it's Cell specifically, but the emotional beats in the fight did work for me.
Yeah, not when it comes to Gohan. I just didn't feel like Gohan really was in it.
I get that.
If I'm being blunt, like, it felt like the flashy visuals of what is good Dragon Ball, but not with the heart behind what makes good Dragon Ball.
Mm-hmm.
I know what they were going for, and like what's happening with Piccolo, but the villain doesn't mean anything, so I kind of can't care that much.
I want to talk a little bit about, it's kind of piggybacking off of what you're talking about, but
sure.
One of the things that I find interesting about Toriyama right now is how he's bringing back forgotten powers and forgotten elements. Like when Krillin shows up and he's like, "Get big!" And he's like, "Wait, what?" Like, "Get big!" Like he did in the tournament 40 years ago. And he's like, "Oh right, I can do that." I thought that was cute.
Mm-hmm.
Ben, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I'm trying to think.
You can't say no. It's a viable option.
Yeah, I don't know if I do. To be perfectly honest, I don't think I do. I had an absolute blast with this movie. I love how Piccolo was the star of the show, because he's
got some very good funny lines, and he's just like when he's in the line of the soldiers, and he's like, "You okay? You look a little green." "Oh yeah, I'm good. I'm fine."
Yeah, yeah. Piccolo is absolutely hilarious. I love how he's training Pan, and he's essentially doing the same. He's Grandpa Piccolo now. I love that.
No, and when he's talking about, it's like my grandfather, your grandfather. Oh right, Goku's old.
Yeah.
Oh, that was funny.
Yeah. Also, I just like how he interacts with the preschool teacher. He's like, "Hi, Janet. Yeah, it's me."
Yeah.
He's just like, he sees
Piccolo.
It's like, "Oh, it's just Piccolo. It's fine." I do like how Piccolo is like, "Come on, Gohan, you gotta get back in the fight. You gotta get back into this." And even when he gives him his old gi again and it's super heavy, he's like, "Haha, yeah."
Oh, the explanation that Gohan's eyesight gets better when he goes Super Saiyan. It's really funny.
That was funny. I was trying to think what else. I kind of like.
Well, if you don't mind, then we can talk about Pan.
Yeah, let's talk about Pan. Oh, Pan's such an adorable little kid.
Yeah, I really like. I think Pan is the. I think this movie is strategically set where it is because they want the manga to fill in this gap. Mm-hmm. They want like not like an endpoint for the manga, but they wanted to give the manga space, because that anime is going to be coming soon, ish. But like, I think the bottom line kind of like, oh, this movie, it was a good idea ultimately to move this movie further back in the timeline, is because Pan gets to be such a delightful character, and a well-written character who, as Sparkz said, has a pretty compelling arc, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Mag is in the comments, Ben.
Yep. I love that. Piccolo still can't drive, still the best.
That's pretty funny.
I forgot my license.
Yeah, I really liked Pan in this. As funny as it was that Krillin stayed back to protect Pan and Bulma, and didn't end up protecting Pan, I thought the emotional weight of her flying worked for me.
Yeah. It's like, Pan, you gotta fly. It's like, Krillin, you could fly too. Just go get her.
Krillin, you were there to protect them. What happened?
You goofed. Let's see. What else about Pan that I really like? I just love how she plays along with all the Piccolo stuff. Like when Piccolo's like threateningly pulling her up by the handcuffs, but he's also, you can clearly see he's holding Pan's feet, and how he's like, "Hey, just like play along," and Pan's like, "Okay." She's just like, yeah, sure, Piccolo's here. I'm fine. I'll be safe.
Yeah, I think that they work really well together. I'm sad that I gotta wait to see them interact again.
Yeah. Yeah, I just love Pan.
Well, we can move on to other things if you'd like. Sparkz, do you want to bring up another point?
I think that the Piccolo Pan and stuff is really cute. Probably the stuff that works the best in the film. Yeah. I think that it's a little bizarre. I get like it works for me. Piccolo's motivation to let Pan continue to be in danger to try to motivate Gohan to step up. Mm-hmm. But the fact that that doesn't come up at any point, like Gohan being like, Piccolo, that was a little messed up. Like, this could have gone sideways pretty bad. I think that's a little, yeah, okay. I like Hedo and Magenta and the whole setup of like what the Red Ribbon has been doing this whole time. Why he's secretly been wanting to like. It's a little bizarre to me, and like I just kind of. This is Dragon Ball. That Magenta has the patience to design the Red Ribbon Pharmacy and work behind the scenes for all of this time, but god damn it, he just can't wait for Max Cell to be ready.
Yeah,
he's got to release it now. I'm like, you've been patient for like 50 years, bro. What are you doing?
I did like the explanation he gives Hedo of what they think Bulma and Capsule Corp do. Mm-hmm. I thought that was cute.
Which isn't even sincere. But
it's not even.
I'm like, creative spin to get Hedo on your side when Cell murdered people on live television and threatened the entire planet with the Cell games. Sure, he was the good guy, though. Yeah, right. Bold strategy. Like it, Magenta. Good job.
Yeah.
I think Hedo, I didn't know about Hedo in the movie. I really like, Toriyama isn't, Toriyama does this thing in this movie that I kind of like, which is it's removing Goku and Vegeta allows this movie to pretty much be about only legacies. The legacy of the Red Ribbon Army, the legacy of Dr. Gero, the legacy of Goku and Gohan and Piccolo. So like it kind of feels like thematically interesting because of that. And I was happy to see Hedo in the movie, even though I had no idea he existed. He's Gero's grandson.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought that was a good inclusion to do that.
Also, Android 21, Gero's wife, is now canon.
Yeah,
which is weird. At least her existence, her as an android, is not necessarily canon, but her existence as his wife is canon, which is wild.
She's the one who looked like a Boo, didn't she?
She has a form that looks like Boo. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
She has two forms.
This also, I also thought this was cool because this made canon that 16 was Gero's son,
which was always canon, but it made it in anime canon.
Yes, because it was always canon because obviously I knew it, but like it was never explicitly stated, and I was
only in Toriyama's Kenzenshu books that he released in Japan.
What's one of those?
Kenzenshu. These were like his like writing about character designs and things like that, and in that he gives like lore details of things that were factually true. This is where like people learned about the same detail you asked me about earlier today about like why did the Namekians grow crops? That's from the Kenzenshu. Like things like that, where it's like this is the lore reason for this. He did this in like the mid 90s, I think. Mm-hmm. And these have been translated online, but like there's no English version of these, but there's a few volumes Kenzenshu books of him basically like the making of Dragon Ball kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But in there is where he said 16 was Dr. Gero's son who was injured during one of Goku's attacks on the Red Ribbon Army. And that's why Gero hates Goku and redesigned him as an android. That's where that comes from.
But Hedo isn't 16's son. He's a different son.
No, apparently there's two other people, Ray's parents, who have Hedo, I guess.
But who also weren't as megalomaniac as Gero, because he said like his parents were like really nice.
Yes, I guess so.
So Gero's evilness did not get passed down.
Right. Instead, Heto's a huge fan of superheroes.
Yeah.
And so he makes Gamma 1 2 in the model of superheroes, which is really cool. Except this is another thing where I'm like, all the pieces are right there. How did it not come up in this movie that Gohan was Great Saiyaman and Heto's favorite superhero who inspired Gamma 1 and Gamma 2? How is that not part of this movie?
Oh, you're right. He's not, because when Hedo talks about like, I like superheroes, and we see like the superheroes he likes, and one of them is Gamma. Great Saiyaman's not there.
Yep, not there.
How is that not there? How is that not there?
You know what? I was thinking about that on my drive home. I was like, there was no mention of Great Saiyaman. I was actually looking forward to that.
We talked about this when the first trailer came out, and I said, it sure does seem like someone's taken some Saiyaman moves here. So I'm just saying, I think with a Gohan movie, we're going to see some Saiyaman stuff on the screen. And we didn't. And I'm shocked because I'm like, I don't think you're using all the tools in your toolbox to tell this story.
Maybe he forgot. It wouldn't be the first time.
Look, it's like the only thing in all of Dragon Ball canon that isn't referenced in this movie is Saiyaman.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
I'm kind of not as much, if I'm being honest. I think it was a very clear path to get like the Gammas on the side of Gohan.
Mhm.
And like it further explores and deepens who Gohan is. That is an important part of his character. To not acknowledge it in a movie about the superhero concept where they're clearly lifting a lot of Great Saiyaman moves. Kind of weird, kind of wild, kind of like, all right, it was just another avenue where you could have made Gohan a more central figure in this story, and they didn't. And I'm like, all right, I guess.
I liked the fact that Piccolo, that when you fight the Gammas, you can see their sound effects.
Well,
I really like
sound effects.
I really like that too. I thought that was cute, except that it was just that one sequence and then it never happened again.
I was about to say, the thing that I wish that they had done would kept that going. I don't mind it in the Battle of Cell because because they imply that it's something they trigger, like they create. So like you're fighting Cell, you're now like, okay, we've beaten. We now know we were on the wrong side. We're all in this together. I don't mind it disappearing there, but during the fight with Piccolo and Gohan, I felt like it should have been there because they're still trying to show off in that.
Yeah. Yes.
But I thought it was a funny gag in the beginning, at least.
Me too.
I really liked the Gammas personally. I think Gamma 1 and 2 are really good characters.
They definitely have, like, Gamma 1's much more serious. Gamma 2 is very more laid back, and I don't want to say frivolous, but he's more eccentric and he's having a fun time with this. So I definitely do like how both Gammas, how they play off each other. I really like that as well.
Yeah, the next Universal Tournament would be Gamma 1 would be a good asset.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do like how everyone gets on the same page. I think that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
I like Piccolo, recognizing that they should be on the same side and all that. I think that's pretty good.
I think Piccolo. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I think that in some ways we should have gotten there a little quicker to have room for a Cell that actually has a personality, and unless we're going to do like at least the visualize trauma for Gohan thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if Toriyama's interested in going that deep with the character anymore.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess I would agree with you, except that I thought that Broly had enough on the table that we got a pretty good look into his heart and his past.
That's a good point.
That I just feel like, I think if you are going to repeat the beat of Gohan having the line appear behind him and splash open to be the trigger for this new transformation, then I don't see any reason in a film full of flashbacks we can't at least visually flashback to Cell and imply that the trauma of that past is what's triggering this transformation again. I don't know why we can't go there, because again, like, it just goes back to a wordless berserker version of Cell is meaningless in this film because visually it doesn't really trigger anything for anybody.
Yeah. Mag is in the comments, Ben, if you want to pull that up.
Yeah. He is saying, wonder if 17 would have been too much to be added in the fight.
So he's referring to the moment where, because throughout the movie, Piccolo is trying to get Bulma to get in contact with Whis so that we can get Goku and Vegeta here, because the Red Ribbon Army are formidable for the fighters on Earth at this point. Goku and Vegeta are training with Broly and Beerus on Beerus's world. And in response, Bulma brings a now teenage, well, maybe not teenage, but older Goten Trunks, now 18, and Owen Krillin is there too. And that was a very good laugh in the theater.
Yep. I brought the strongest fighters I know, and Krillin.
And Krillin's here too. I thought that was really funny. And I do really like Krillin's like Krillin knows he's outmatched in certain situations. But even then, when he knows that when he sees his friends kind of not like out, but like in trouble, he will jump at the opportunity to help. And I thought that was especially when 18 is struggling. And I thought that was I always think that's a good character beat for Krillin that I'm glad carried over into this movie. Because again, he is wildly outmatched.
Yeah. That poor guy.
He's got a good destructive disc and solar flare.
He did. The solar flare return was very cool. The solar flare is a very powerful attack that they should implement a lot more.
17's a really tough fighter. I think that if he'd been there, it would have been tough because he's so good. He's just so darn good, as shown in the Super Show.
I heard he won a tournament lately.
Yeah. So I mean, with 17 there, like I don't know, might have been put down pretty quickly. I mean, because you got Goku and Vegeta out in space, and clearly, regardless of how powerful Cell Max or Gohan Beast or Orange Piccolo may be, none of them had a power level strong enough for Goku or Vegeta or Whis to sense it. So I guess it can't be that big.
Right? They're just kind of watching whatever. I liked the brief look into what's happening with Goku and Vegeta.
Yeah.
Especially because Broly, Broly starts to lose it, and Goku's like, wait, you're not gonna freak out on me again, are you? I think that's all good. Beerus was very funny in this movie, funnier than I've seen him in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
When he clearly has a crush on Chile,
Mm-hmm.
and he's so supportive of Lemon.
Mm-hmm.
When he's like, no, come over here, let's have some ice cream together.
He's like, do the dishes later. We're gonna watch the fight.
I thought that was fun.
I guess they just live on Beerus's planet now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Whis is always a good time. There's a bit where Whis just goes, Saiyans, gotta love him, right?
Yeah.
I think it's very cute. Whis is always fun. Vegeta finally beats Goku though. He did it. He did it. We finally got that.
Under certain rules, Vegeta beats Goku.
Just like
no transformations, no big key blasts. Vegeta beats Goku.
Yep. And just barely.
Yep.
I thought that was very funny.
Also, I just love how Chile is like, man, this is lame, but Limo and Broly are crying because they're like, we witnessed something beautiful.
I wish, and I told you this in the theater, I think. I do wish that they look, Jiren was the last villain they saw in that's not their friend, Broly. Jiren was the last villain they saw in Super, so I understand kind of going keeping this like anime canon. I get that. But I do wish that they had at least brought up, because they're talking about like Jiren, Jiren was the most powerful foe we faced. Like, since then you probably could have been like Granola is not dead at this point.
They didn't say
Frieza.
They didn't say most powerful foe they face. They said there are powerful people out there like Jiren.
Yeah, I know. I just wish we had gotten a bit more than that.
I get you. It left a blank space.
Yeah. Like I get it in Broly, but in this one, I'm just like, at this point, you fought some people, surely. Like you fought Frieza. Frieza just did a thing lately. It's pretty cool. Unless Toriyama didn't know about that.
Well, Frieza's looking for Broly, so.
Oh, that's what he's doing?
That's what they said.
Yeah.
They said, we figured Broly was better off here because Frieza can't find him.
Good point.
Which also tells us that Frieza's still out there. I
hope that... Oh, this is a story that I want to see Super do. I won't say it. That's for a different thing. It's for a different discussion. Okay. A later date. I like the music. The music was good.
I wish it had a theme.
Doesn't it?
No, like a music like lyric theme to go with it that they also translated into the orchestra, which it doesn't.
Oh, you're right.
Like the way that Broly did with Blizzard.
Yeah. It does have like a superhero theme to it that I dug. The Carmine presentations are funny.
They are.
I like that he's just made little PowerPoint presentations.
They keep getting more elaborate with his name. Yeah, cute.
All right.
Very much harkening back to the servant man. I forget his name, but Black Commander Red's secondhand guy.
Yeah.
Who ends up actually fighting Goku for the final battle in the Red Ribbon Army.
Yeah, because he ended up being like the big bad in the end.
It wasn't that he was the big bad. He was just like, he was actually the like Commander Red was literally just the commander, and he had no fire, like actual strength power, and Black did.
Yeah. All right. Well, why don't I read Ryan's comments now? Let me pull that up real quick. All right. Ryan wrote his review out and gave it to us. So here's what he had to say. It's so good to have Dragon Ball back. I agree. First off, I was surprised how quickly it adapted to the animation style. Ended up liking it a lot. While still wishing for the traditional look, it didn't ruin the movie at all. Love the time jump so we see Pan and teenage Goten Trunks. Really happy we focused on other characters for this one. Mm-hmm. Piccolo is clearly the standout, and while Gohan was the top dog in the end, I still wanted more of him.
Yep.
That reminds me, I wanted to bring up something about Goten and Trunks a little later. Loved the new villains who talked. The superhero androids were fun, and it was obvious, but still great to see their turn to good. I agree. Cell Max is okay.
Yep.
I was excited for a reunion with the extremely charismatic Cell, but he was more Bio Broly than Cell, in my opinion. The final fight was very cool, but honestly, it felt weak compared to Broly. For me, bigger doesn't always mean better. Big Piccolo is cool, though. Gohan's new transformation is neat, I guess. Wish we had more to it. Pan was my MVP. She was just a joy to watch. Not quite a Broly, unfortunately, but still really fun. I'll read out his rating when we are done, which we are almost done.
I agree with a lot of the things Ryan said. I think that there was a part of me that, like, at a certain point, I was like, I know the movie doesn't have time for this. But, like, I wish they'd use the Dragon Balls to reincarnate Cell into that new body, like, to bring back his consciousness.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Like, actually make this if you're going to bring a character back, bring a character back. This was not bringing a character back. This was referencing a character.
Yeah.
Which is not the same thing. And like, I would have wanted the Gohan Cell rematch if that's what we were really going to do. And it's not really what we were doing. And so that's why I'm like, the Cell stuff didn't quite get there, and the Gohan stuff didn't quite get there either.
Because you can if you use the Dragon Balls, you kind of run the risk of doing what Resurrection F did, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, but you do have a way to kind of circumvent that with the fact that they built a new Cell body. So you could be like, I wish that Cell's soul was put into this body.
Right. Well, and they also said, like, part of I thought that they might have kept that up with before Piccolo used the Dragon Balls, but when they're talking about Cell Max, Hedo says that right now this is just a cluster of power. You know, if you want to have it under your control, you know, it doesn't have a mind yet. It doesn't have that sense. And so, like, they could have used the Dragon Balls to, like, to make that shortcut. Like, we'll put Cell back in Cell.
And, you know, you could do that and still have the dragon transformation for Piccolo, because it's established in the Dragon Ball universe that ever since the dragon was upgraded to have more than one wish, you can just say, I've got no more wishes, and it will just go back into the balls until you summon it again.
Right.
That's happened in Super. So you can do that and have Piccolo be like, hey, I wish for my latent ability. I've only got the one wish, though, and then it goes away, and then the Red Ribbon Army uses the last two wishes.
Right. Or, yeah, there were ways to get around this in a different way and have your Orange Piccolo and have your Cell, too. Yeah. I feel like Cell Max, as visually engaging and striking as it is, and as cool as I think a lot of the battle beats are, is kind of like some of the worst of the old Dragon Ball Z movies. You haven't gotten to it yet, Brandon, but there's a lot of Hirudegan vibes, which is the last of the classic Dragon Ball Z films. There's a lot of that in this form of Cell, where I'm kind of like, yeah, all right. I mean, he's big and he's raging and he's like, oh, okay, but you know, like, in a slew of Toriyama making these films where I'm just so emotionally connected with all of the characters. I was emotionally connected with Beerus as an antagonist. I was big into when Frieza came back because that was done so well. Obviously, the Broly movie is incredible. This one, on its scale of its villain emotional connection, and then its kind of secondary protagonist Gohan, wasn't quite matching the level I feel we've been hitting with the previous Super films.
Sure. I really like that the dragon gave the little bit extra because he remembered Kami. That is there, and I think that's kind of cool. That's kind of cute.
Yeah, I do too.
Because Kami created Shenron, and then Dende brought him back. I realize that this film is far more comedic than Broly. I get it.
Oh yeah,
it is kind of a bummer that we don't get proper Gotenks.
Yeah,
I do appreciate that Fat Gotenks was part of the fight and didn't just wait 30 minutes to try again. But it hasn't been that long since the two of them have fused recently. So like the fact that they screwed it up so badly.
It's been a while.
Well, not since they weren't part of the Universal. Well, it hasn't been that. I guess it has been probably 3 years. Well, they should practice it more.
It's probably been 4, closer to 4.
Well,
the last time they would have fused would have been when Vegeta's brother showed up.
No, they fused when Beerus showed up.
Okay.
They fought Beerus, but did they fight Frieza?
No.
And
they specifically left Goten and Trunks out of that.
And then they hadn't been part of a fight since. Then they haven't been part of a fight since Beerus. So yeah, so I guess about 3 years.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. I wish we got proper Gotenks. It's been a while. It would have been cool to see him.
Yeah. Mag has a thing in the comments saying Silmax to me also felt like Janemba first form or the Dragon Monster in Wrath of the Dragon movie. I don't know what those are.
That's what Sparkz was just saying.
Okay. Hirudegan is this big dragon monster that
Gotcha.
he's referring to.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Like it just kind of becomes a little empty, just a little empty.
Real quick note: I forgot what my point was. You gotta wait till we finish our points before you bring up the comments because I've completely forgot what I was trying to say.
I'm sorry, I thought you were done.
No, sorry, it's okay. Oh well, I'm sure I'll text someone with it maybe. Oh, I was talking about Fusion. I was talking about Gotenks.
Gotenks.
Yeah, I just would have liked to see more Gotenks because I think it's cool that we get to see them as older characters, and I like what they're doing with them. I always like Goten and Trunks. I just wish we had gotten more of a proper showing from them.
If I'm being honest, I actually prefer that he turned into the Fat Gotenks because it had been a while and they screwed it up. And I am stunned that when we get that last shot with Pan that we don't see it because they do it correctly, but we just fly through and then we don't see Gotenks after that. I thought we would have just seen him in the last shot like properly and I would have been like, yeah, that's cool. But like Fat Gotenks worked better for me because Fat Gotenks was actually like unique in the fight, whereas like regular Gotenks, like he ain't gonna win the fight. So like I don't know what more he provides us other than another person with slightly more power blasting at the thing. Like that's all they would have been.
Yeah.
Because again, like and honestly, I like having Gotenks there. And Krillin to an extent. 18, unfortunately, I feel like doesn't provide a lot. I'm glad she's there. I'm glad we still remember her as her character and like that she is one of the most powerful of them. And so she should be there. I just like it's again, this whole thing is supposed to come down on Gohan, and I just don't feel like it comes down on Gohan the way it should.
Yeah. All right, shall we rate it?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Ben, why don't you go first since you're falling asleep?
Blood sugar's a little low, sorry.
That's fine.
I would say an 8.5. I like the fights. I love Piccolo. I like Gohan's new form. And Pan is just absolutely adorable. I do hope that when they make another DB Super movie, I hope they go back to the original 2D animation because those, once again, we've said it before, I'll say it again, flashback scenes were animated beautifully, but the animation in this one wasn't bad, and I still highly enjoyed the film, so 8.5.
Yeah.
I hope that the next thing we see from Super is the anime, quite honestly. Sparkz?
Yeah, I think that overall it's pretty good. I really like a lot of the Piccolo stuff. Gohan's good. It's just I don't think that like we're given enough time with him to warrant the turning to the transformation, or we're not given enough time with the transformation itself. I do like the special being canon moment. I think that's very good. It's very charming. I like that a lot. It doesn't entirely make up for the fact that this transformation kind of almost comes out of left field. It does feel like I'm trying to take a leap forward with these characters to make them comparable. And Piccolo's just felt more not only ingrained in the plot and narrative and emotional, but natural. Whereas Gohan's kind of feels like pushed out. It's cool that they rewarded the internet long Gohan white desire. We now have it. Here it is. It's real. This transformation has long been fanficked. So that's cool. TBD on how I fully feel about it when it's utilized in the future. Because there's just frankly not a clear amount of it. I feel like the humor and the love for the legacy of Dragon Ball is also present, that it more than makes up for, and the animation is good and the music is good and the characters are, a lot of the side characters are given a lot of good due. So it more than makes up for the shortcomings of the emotional narrative. I think that it's both being a huge fan of the Cell saga and the way it ended with Gohan. This felt like a really cheap rehash of some of those beats when it gets down to its final bits of the act, rather than like bringing some energy to it that felt emotionally whole. And I think coming from Broly, I just want more emotionally engaging storytelling from Toriyama, because he's shown he's capable of it. And I feel like we didn't quite go all the way there where we could have. But that being said, like, it's still such a good, fun time in Dragon Ball. And I'm just happy to have gotten to see it on the big screen. And I'm never going to complain about there being more Dragon Ball. So overall, I give it an 8 out of 10. I know we'll never top Broly. I know it. It's never going to happen. But I don't want us to stop striving.
Ryan also gives it an 8 out of 10. That was his score from his review that he sent us. I'm really happy with this movie overall. Really happy with this movie. I'm glad that Piccolo was made relevant into the future of the Dragon Ball story again. I'm never opposed to giving them power boosts to get them closer to where Goku and Vegeta is. They can be part of the story. I understand it's difficult with the human characters, but not quite as difficult with the alien characters. So I'm happy about that a lot. Really liked the character stuff in this movie. I've said my gripes. They're small. 9 out of 10. All right.
Yes.
That'll do it.